Hi everyone. This is a very quick introduction to musical intervals. Now, two of the most common musical intervals are the half step and the whole step. You may also hear these referred to as the semitone and the tone. If you look at the fretboard on a guitar, essentially what we're talking about is one fret is one half step. So every time I go up a fret, I'm moving up by a half step. A whole step, if we have half steps, you might be able to guess that a whole step is going to be two half steps or two frets. So. Now, melodies and scales are made up of these characteristic combinations of whole steps and half steps. So if I want to play a scale, I'm going to work in a combination of whole steps and half steps, something like do, re, mi. There were a couple of whole steps. The next one is going to be a half step. Fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that was whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that very characteristic collection creates the major scale, and the particular combinations of whole steps and half steps contribute to the way that we hear melodies having certain qualities, or maybe pulling towards certain areas or wanting to settle and rest in certain places. It often has to do with the way that whole steps and half steps fall. So for example, in that scale, this mi, fa, half step, those half steps, ti, do, and fa, mi, the smaller half step intervals often want to settle down to an adjacent whole step, and those tend to sound a little bit more stable, a little bit more consonant, and they kind of shape where we feel like we are in a scale or a melody. Let's look at this on the piano as well. As you can see, the piano is made up of white keys and black keys. When we're looking for half steps and whole steps, we're going to keep the same principle in mind from the guitar. One fret was a half step, one key here is a half step. So B to C, that's a half step. Half step, half step. If we want a whole step, we're going to skip a key, which can often mean either going from white key to white key, skipping a black in between, or maybe from black key to black key, skipping a white in between, or all whole steps, or it can involve a mixture. So for example, B flat, skip B up to C, those are all whole steps. So scales, like I said, are made up of combinations of whole and half steps. Music theorists like to teach with the C major scale because it's the set of all the white keys that gives you C and then whole step, half, whole, 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 half. We really like that one because it's all the white keys, no sharps, no flats, but you can have a major or minor scale on any of the 12 keys. So for example, I can have F sharp. Or maybe I can start in a minor key. I can have G minor. There are different variations of the minor. We won't quite get into those, but you can hear some of the differences. If I start on G major and play just the first five notes, you'll see that many of them are the same when we get into minor, but one is different. That B flat instead of B natural gives the minor scale its sound, along with another note up here, E flat, whereas in major it would be you can hear that there are important differences between major and minor scales, and that has to do with the kinds of whole steps and half steps, the distribution of those whole steps and half steps, which create musical intervals, and it has to do with the chords that we can build out of these collections of notes.